Hey there, and welcome to another installment of the Origins Redesigns for the Origins Reboot, Season 2 to be exact. Today we're going to be covering a lot of the newcomers, characters who are brand new to the scripts with the rewrites for Season 2. Be sure to check out the previous video on the redesigns that we did for the Guardian Angels for Season 1 of Origins. And also, feel free to join some of our upcoming live streams. We're going to be designing some of the background reapers that are going to appear in Season 2. So on to today's characters. We're going to be covering characters from Fennel, Lupin, Poppy, Mallow, Willow, and Rue's episode in Season 2 of Origins. So first up, we got Fennel's episode, the only new character we have to introduce, Chamomile. I could have gone with literally any cat breed for this character. I decided that there just simply wasn't enough black cats in the series, honestly, and we haven't used a Bombay cat before. So, that's why I decided to implement it. Also, I really wanted to play with the design for the ears a little bit more. I'm trying to get a little bit more creative with my style, obviously, and trying to create some pretty good differences between minute details, such as ear shapes and nose shapes, eyebrows, etc. This character is clearly an adventurer. It was really fun, actually, giving him a compass, since we joke a lot that May's pocket watch gets often mistaken as a compass. But now we actually have one. It's actually really a compass, and it functions like one. There's no demons in there. For the colors, I really wanted to add a second color. I know black cats are just plain black, and that's fine and all, but I thought it'd be really fun to kind of highlight black cats and the way that their fur reflects in the sun. I don't know if you've noticed, but they have a hint of brown to them, almost like a chocolate color, when they're in the right light. It's really cool, and I really wanted to put that into Chamomile's design, so I added this very light gradient brush of it. And this is our first newcomer, Chamomile, an adventurer from Fennel's episode. Moving on to our next character, I'm very excited for her. I've hinted at her in the past. You may know who I'm talking about. You may not. But give it up for Cascadia. This is Petunia's sister. Well, late sister. She's kinda dead. I mean, are you surprised? It's a PetPyves production. She's actually gonna be a ghost, but I had to do her initial design here as if she were alive, because when I do the coloring and everything, it's gonna be on a different opacity than the rest, so I have to have at least one original reference. So this is technically what she looks like when she's alive. The appearance that you'll see here in Lupin's episode will actually be a little different. For Cascadia, I really wanted to make sure, just because they're siblings, they don't have to be identical. Like, Petunia is already a pretty well-known staple of a designed character, and I really wanted her to be her own individual self. So I decided to make her a Sphinx cat who has a little bit more fur, but predominantly on her paws and stomach. So she's got like a little bit of fluff to her, which I ended up really liking, because it just adds something to her. It adds like a spunk to her, and she's definitely got that. You can tell from the sass already, I hope. And of course, with being a Sphinx cat, I had to include all the little prickly hairs out of place. Honestly, I really enjoyed it in Petunia's design, and I will be adding a little bit more wrinkles to both of their designs. This is just merely a concept just to get the first one out there. By the time you see these characters in actual Season 2, they're probably going to undergo a couple tiny changes. But for now, I'm really in love with this. I think it's a really fun design, and I love the lightness of her palette. It's going to look even more ghostly when she shows up as a ghost in Lupin's episode. We have a second character in Lupin's episode who is a brand new character. It's actually Lupin's mother, who, lo and behold, is another ghost. I'm sensing a theme with Lupin's episode. Maybe, perhaps. This time, I am going to have Lupin's mother look pretty similar to Lupin, because there is a line of dialogue in which they are able to figure out that Hope is her name. Hope is actually Lupin's mother because she looks so similar to Lupin. So in this case, I really did have to make the design similar to Lupin, but also I wanted to pull some things from the rest of Lupin's family, like his siblings. So I tried to include details from everyone and colors from everyone, but also make her slightly individualized. I mean, obviously, I can't just make her a carbon copy clone of Lupin. That would be a little scary. But I feel as if this turned out pretty alright, all things considered. I did include the detail that she has a pink collar, because the collars are going to be a very important part of Lupin's episode, and one of Lupin's siblings actually gets the same color as their late mothers. And I also decided to leave her tag off of her collar, because her husband actually took on her tag when she passed away. Lots of tiny details to pay attention to, but overall, we love this speckled, spotty little baby. She is so cool. I can't wait for you guys to meet Hope. Moving on to Poppy's episode, we have quite a few new characters to introduce. About 6, which is the most out of all of them. But we're going to start off with Ash, which is Poppy's mother. I actually had these designs done for quite some time. I used to do these things called character profiles back when I had a Patreon, and I used to draw out entire family trees for certain characters. And Poppy's family was one that was complete, so now I get to pull the old designs and do redesigns, which is great! For Ash, obviously, I had to include ashy colors, because she is actually named after the ash tree. So I tried to pull in some grays and a lot more lighter colors. Obviously, Poppy's breed is a purebred line of snowshoe cats, so they're going to look a little more uniform, but still individualized. Theme of this entire episode is that I'm trying to make the characters not all the same. It's actually very challenging. Nevertheless, I think Poppy's mother turned out wonderful. It's a little interesting that she doesn't have an accessory. I almost feel like it was a little boring. I might go back and add her an accessory, like a blue scarf to kind of match Poppy's, or maybe a blue collar, because previously, the scarf did belong to Lotus. So Ash never had accessories, and everybody else does. I'm really sad that she's left out, so I might go back and add in a blue scarf. And then on to Poppy's father. His name is Alder. I decided to go with a little bit more of a different design for the snowshoe. I actually found this really gorgeous one that's very brown and almost Siamese-esque, which I really like, because we don't have a character like that in Origins. So I decided to go with some really interesting patterns, and also give him a collar with a sun on it. The reason why I've decided with a sun is because his personality is very bright, and one of the few dialogue lines that he has is actually about how he's an early bird. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know that there's a very funny line from 12 about Lotus messing up the phrase. And where'd she get that phrase? From Alder. I'm trying to tie a lot of really tiny details together when it comes to the rewrites of Origins, because I know how important 12 is to all of us. I'd like to honor it in the best way I can, so I try to reference the tiniest things, and that is just probably the most intense tiny detail I have ever placed in anything ever. The fact that he has a little son because he is an early bird, because Lotus said something about an early bird and a worm in 12. It really doesn't get more convoluted than that. Nevertheless, I really like his design. I think it's one of the best ones out of her entire family. I can't wait for you guys to meet both of Poppy's parents. It actually wasn't initially planned for some reason. I don't know why, but now it's in the script, so you're welcome. On to Poppy's final family member, Celadine, or Grandpa Cece, because, yes, I really wanted to make sure that we included Poppy's grandfather, who is a ghost. Another ghost. I have a ghost problem in the rewrites. Maybe a little. Maybe. I don't see it as a problem, but maybe it's a problem. I don't know. Celadine is going to be an interesting character, but of course I had to keep his design fairly simple as well, because there is another line that states how similar Poppy looks to her grandfather. I tried to give him a little couple hairs out of place because he is a spunky little guy. And initially, the scarf came from him. The mint green scarf that Poppy has, that was once Lotus's, was actually once Celadine's. So in his design, I kept the scarf out because, well, if you know my lore, it can get a little confusing. Spirits sometimes can take objects with them to the afterlife if they're really significant or important, but in this case, Celadine left it behind with Lotus as a memento to remember him by, and then Lotus passed it down to Poppy. So it's a very important item, but I don't think it, obviously, went with him. He's just going to have to be accessoryless. Accessoryless. He doesn't have accessories! Okay! And he turns out fine anyway. I mean, look, it's perfect. Anyways, moving on to the next character. I'm designing some of Laelia's family. Although they don't have any speaking lines, Laelia does go into her background a little bit in this episode. So I decided to start off with Laelia's sister, Valerian. This is another thing that came up in those lovely character profiles from bajillions of years ago. But Laelia does have a sister, and they were very close. They have a little bit of like a tragic backstory. Nevertheless, I designed her with Laelia in mind. They are meant to be very similar because they're twins. Except I decided, for some reason, I was like, you know what? Middle part. Yeah, middle part on a cat. That sounds good. And I don't really know how I feel about it. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's alright, but I wanted to do something different. I don't know. And of course, I decided to give her a purple bow. Because Laelia is all pink, I decided to make Valerian purple because Valerian flowers are actually very purple. And I tried to relate the designs back to the names or the flowers that they are connected to, in most cases. And then I gave some designs to Laelia's parents. Laelia's mother is a very fierce cat. I decided to give her a lot of striking features. Very spiky hair, very red collar, intimidating character. I just wanted the look alone to really give you an idea as to why maybe Laelia acts the way she does. Maybe she has a role model of sorts, if you're catching my drift. And I tried to base it off of the cat, the IRL cat, the Bramilia, because yes, I could do an all-white cat, but that would be kind of boring, so I kept a couple of little patches and designs here and there, just for the fun of it. Because, look, even though they're little plain, we gotta add something to make them unique and individualized. And this is how Laelia's mother ended up. I think her design is going to speak volumes for the very few scenes she's going to show up in. Laelia's father. I obviously had to keep all these cats looking quite similar because Laelia is also from a purebred line, which is a very interesting detail that ties Poppy and Laelia together in this new episode of Season 2. He had more of a green motif going. The Bramilia cat actually has green eyes, usually, so I thought that was, like, kind of fun that I got to use that aspect of the IRL design, and then I decided, you know what? Not enough of my characters have like little tufts on the bottom of their chin, like little beards, so I decided to give him one. Overall, he is a big, fluffy cat. I decided to go with a more long hair cat for his design. So we have Laelia's mother, who's more of the short hair, and then he's more of the long hair, which results in Laelia and Valerian being a little bit of both. Overall, his design was very simple, but I still think he comes across as a little bit more of a passive, doting character, which is exactly what I was going for. There actually wasn't any new characters in Mallow's episode, so we're going to be going right on to Willow's, which has 2 new designs. Starting off with Buttercup's dad. Yes, Buttercup is going to be quite an important character in this episode, but I just love Buttercup and her family. Oh my goodness, she has this kind of split life going on where she has half of her family in Samoa and half of her family in Japan, and she visits between them, back and forth, usually between the summer. So for her dad, I had originally just a plain brown tabby design, and you know what? That's fair. I can draw a plain brown tabby design. I can make that look fantastic. I decided to also give him a little beard, but then also make the white on his chest go up to it so he looks a little bit older. He ended up literally absolutely one of my favorite designs out of all of them, which is hilarious because he's just such a random background character. He doesn't speak all that much, but like, I love him. And then I decided, you know, I don't give enough characters glasses. Like, there is just not enough glasses in this show, okay? Glasses are an underrated detail that I would love to have added to more characters, and I'm kicking myself for not doing that. Oh my god, I'm so sad. Dang it, y'all. But you know what? It's okay. We have Nico now. His name is Nico, yes. And he's a sweet baby. Look at him. I love him. He is everything to me. And then, of course, I had to design Buttercup's mother. She actually doesn't have any speaking lines, but she is going to appear quite a bit in the backgrounds of things. So I had to go ahead and give her a redesign. Of course, I did design that entire family line way back when, but now we're giving it a fresh coat of paint. So for her, I really wanted to go with a lighter palette than what Buttercup has. Buttercup looks like a little fawn and she's adorable, but I really wanted to go kind of inverse to that. I really wanted her to have a lot of whites, a lot of spots, and she always has had these red flowers to her, and I always think red and white look super good together. I basically gave her a couple defining features that are her own, like she has curly hair, but overall, I really enjoy her design. I think she's a cutie. I love how they both have flowers in their tails. I think that's like literally the most fun detail ever. I love her. I think that when you pair these two together, Buttercup's parents, they're adorable together. I can't. I just think they're so lovely. You all are in for the shock of a lifetime. The last characters we're going to be designing for Rue's episode are actually some pretty well-known Reapers. Yes, Rue's episode is going to have a lot of Reapers in it. Don't think too hard on it. But we are going to be designing Shiva's parents. Or redesigning, rather. I have had these designs since 2016. But we're going to be giving them a fresh coat of paint, just like the other ones that I had done 400,000 million years ago. No exaggeration there, obviously. So this is going to be Darlith. Darlith is Shiva's mother. The thing about her design that has always stayed true is that she has red eyes, and that she is missing a limb, and that her limb is actually replaced by bones. This is pretty common in Reaperhood. Usually if they have a missing limb, it is replaced with a bone-like structure that usually reflects their mask. And when it came to the parents of Shiva, I had just completely forgotten what their masks were. I have no idea what I had before. I no notes. I don't know. So I had to retake the quiz for them, but luckily, we have a whole website for that. And if you haven't checked it out, you definitely should. You can go and take the quiz and find out what Reaper mask you could wear. It's very fun. We've been using the heck out of it on live streams too, to create our own Reapers. Nevertheless, Darlith ended up getting the werewolf mask, which is so freaking cool. I was so excited about that because it really, really fits her. She is a dark, ominous character, a very sinister character, and that just works so well with all of her stripes. God, it just really turned out great. I decided to put a little crescent moon outside of her mask, like a little piece had broken off, but then I also decided to give her the little spikes on her back. Her spine is literally the phases of the moon. I'm a freaking genius, okay? Because she has a werewolf motif now, she's got freaking moon phases as her spikes. I am so ding proud of that. And then of course I decided to make her bone paw a lot more wolf-like, and I really wanted to emphasize those claws. Her design turned out so freaking good. You can see the resemblance to Shiva. But also, again, she's her own person. She's got that little underbite, like a werewolf. She is definitely a Reaper of the Moon. Like, it is all over her, down to her color palette and everything. I'm so happy I was able to rework this design in a way that I absolutely love and can't wait to draw and show you guys in the episode. Alright, let's do Shiva's father now, Rakar. Rakar was actually a leader of the Rift. He was the previous leader before Shiva, which is why it was passed down to her. She has an extreme legacy to uphold, which is going to be a very predominant theme in the episode. Rakar is a very stern character. He's a very boring character, honestly. I don't know. I'm not really for the big gruff, like, I'm a leader, I have to act like I'm super strong and stoic. Like, I hate that, honestly, but that's what that man is. He's annoying. Not to be dissing on him already or anything, but I love his design. His previous design was honestly one of my favorite ones, because there isn't a whole lot of Reapers that are just, like, black, whites, grays. There's a lot of really colorful ones, so I decided, alright, we're gonna make him a little colorful. Just a bit. I am going crazy over, like, the little beard feature on my big fluffy cat, so now he has one too. And then I gave him little tufts on top of his ears as well, because he was a wildcat previously, and I really wanted to emphasize that detail. He is now very purple. I struggled with the colors quite a bit, because, oh my god, there was just so many to choose from. I didn't know which one I would like the best, but ultimately, I knew that I wanted his eyes to be amber or gold in a way. And I was like, you know what goes great with orange? Freaking purple, dude. Purple. So we went with purple, and it turned out really good. I love how big and fluffy he is. As for his mask, he ended up with the rattlesnake, which is just mind-boggling to me, because Imp is the cobra, and there's a lot of interesting foils and parallels between Imp and Rakar, and I had not planned this at all. I had not planned for them to also share a snake mask, which is so cool. Their whole shadow motif is almost identical, which is really weird and unplanned, and the universe just handed it to me and said, yeah, here you go, this is just supposed to be like this. And I said, okay. So I took it and I ran, and now he has this really freaking cool rattlesnake tail. It's awesome. And for our last character of the Newcomers for season 2, we have Shiva, but when she was alive. Her alive appearance is going to be brief but very important. Shiva's not a character to usually recall on her past, but something's gonna happen in Rue's episode that kind of makes her. So I had to give her a official alive design, and I decided this would be the perfect time to do it. She used to actually be a brown tabby with little white boots and a little white face and chest. So I decided to give her that, but you know, I had to sit there and contemplate for a while what Shiva's name was when she was alive. Or if she could pick her own, if she could choose a new one, what would she choose? And to stick with the theme of plants and trees and flowers, all of the origins of 12 characters are named like this, I decided that her name would have initially been Cherry. Of course, her parents called her Shiva her entire life. She knew she was always going to be a Reaper. But if she had the choice, she would go by Cherry. So I decided to go with this nice cherry wood color for her. It really sticks true to her other design as well, as it's a lot more red and pink. And then her eyes originally were going to be blue, but after thinking so much about how much the color gold resonates with Shiva's character, her eyes definitely have to be gold now when she was alive. And it made a lot more sense than the blue. Here is our alive Shiva, and that concludes all of the new designs / redesigns of the newcomer characters for season 2 of Origins. I really enjoyed this batch of characters. They're obviously very, very unique and fun, and they all have such amazing stories to tell. I can't wait for you guys to see it in the new season coming up very soon. I'm going to work very hard to try and get it done by the end of this year. So, fingers crossed that this will be one of the last redesign videos that you'll see before we actually get the season dropping. Thank you so much for the support with the series so far. I hope you are enjoying the ride and enjoying seeing the process. The very long, painful process that is rebooting a series that is now almost 6 years old. Don't think about it too hard. See you next time. Bye-bye!